Howdy guys, it's Joe here, and today I want to tell you guys the 5 differences between good and bad defense players. Now, as always in this series, just because I'm saying this, I'm not saying that you're a bad player, I'm just saying that there's always a little bit of room to improve, and as well, if you want to improve at attack, support, tank, I also have videos of that, and you can check those out at the end, or, in the description below. As well with that, if you do want to keep the series going, make sure to like this video, and tell me what you kind of learned, or tell me at least your own opinions on a few tips that you can give to some people that are trying to play this role, trying to play the defense role. Now, overall, before we also get started, I do want to say that defense is a very kind of awkward role. Some of the defense characters aren't even played more in defense, some of them are played more in offense, some in King of the Hill. It's really kind of awkward role, so I'm trying to put these together as well as I can. But these will apply to most of the characters, but since it's just such a diverse cast in defense, some of them won't apply to all of them. With that said, I will be trying my best, but anyways, let's get straight onto this. And to my first thing that I want to tell you guys, my first tip about this, is that if you are playing a defensive character, you shouldn't always play the defensive character on defense. Now, with that being said, it is often a good idea to play them on defense. For example, Torbjorn on defense, and of course, having someone like a Mei on defense can be very nice. But as well with this, there are also a lot of situations where if you play a defense character on offense, they can work really well. The best one that really comes to mind is Hanzo. If we actually look at this one tournament statistic, I'll try to throw it up on the screen right now, we actually saw way more Hanzo on offense than defense. We actually saw 0 defense Hanzo and only saw him on offense in this tournament. So as you see, sometimes it's just a little bit different than what you think. You're not always going to be playing these guys on defense. As well with that, a lot of the times we will see Widowmaker on first point trying to get a pick, or Bastion on the cart with 2 or 3 different tanks trying to protect him for at least the first point of trying to push the cart. There's a lot of little jank strategies that you can try to do with these defensive characters, and remember that while it is a good idea to often play these guys on defense, certain characters do work on offense, and if you know those strategies, you can try them out and try to win with them. From there, I'll also say, kind of use your ults a little bit liberally with all these characters. If a big push does seem to be coming, or even a medium-ish push, you should probably try to use your ult and try to go for it. Pretty much all of the defensive characters in this game have very, very short ult timers, aka it takes very little amount of time in order to charge your ultimates. Now I know a few of them have a bit longer, but overall these are pretty short ults, so you shouldn't be way too afraid to use them. Especially people like Hanzo and people like Mei, they get their ult really fast, so don't be afraid to use it. You can go for this, and you will be charging it up really fast in the future, and I feel like that's just one of the great things about these characters. Their ults charge so fast, so don't really worry as much as you would if you were playing someone like a Zarya, someone like a Reinhardt who takes a little bit longer to get their ult up. You can use yours a little bit more liberally, and try to get a few more kills with it as well. To the next point with all the projectile characters, I'll say don't always just spam your projectiles around corners. Now, I see a lot of characters doing this, a lot of players doing this with like Hanzo, of course with Mei, with Junkrat. They're just spamming around the corners, which does make a lot of sense. What I'd say to you guys though, instead of just, randomly spamming without really an idea at all or whatever, I'd say try to actually aim those shots the best you can. And also sometimes maybe bait the enemy team a little bit into getting hit by the shots. If you keep shooting the exact same place over and over by Junkrat, of course they're not going to go into that area. But if you wait a little bit, they start walking up, and then you shoot a few times, you can get them. As well, I just see a lot of people shooting around corners, not really trying to aim really at all with these projectiles. Really, you should try to aim. Of course, they do have a pretty big hitbox, and especially with someone like Junkrat, you're like, I'll just hit them with the splash damage, but if you can hit them straight on or even get a headshot with someone like Hanzo, you'll be doing a lot more damage and helping your team a lot more. It is a little bit harder, it does take more time, more experience, but I'd say it's definitely worth it instead of just kind of, spazzing around. Now, to another thing that I feel like really should be a little bit self-explanatory, but I see this very often. When you're playing a lot of these defensive characters, except for Mei, I'd say don't walk in melee range when the enemy team is pushing. Of course, sometimes Mei has to, jump on the cart and press shift or try to E and stall for time. Everyone else, though, I'd say don't get up melee range. I know it does kind of, have like a good feeling. You're like, I'm up melee, I'm going to get a lot of kills. But for the majority of the time with these defensive characters, if you get really, really close up, the enemy team's just going to turn around and kill you, and you're going to just die really, really fast. The majority of these people do have a pretty medium-ish to longish range effective range, and I just say go a little bit further away, and while people are pushing up on you, don't just get so close, as you will die very fast, and most of these guys really aren't way too tanky, so just be a little bit careful. And finally, and definitely the most important thing to me at least, I'd say that when you are playing a defensive character, kill other people on the enemy team that are peeking, and kind of just stay at the same spot for quite a while on your character, and just wait for enemies to peek around the corners. Now, essentially what this means is that, you hide right next to a corner, and then the enemy team is just walking out. This especially works well in King of the Hill, or some defensive maps. They walk around the corner, and then if you're someone like Widow, someone like Hanzo, even someone like Torb, you can try to shoot at them, get a headshot, and you pretty much know where they're going to be at, or at least the height of their character, so you can get a pretty nice and pretty easy shot, while it's a little bit hard for them to hit you, as you're already fully charged and you're already ready to shoot at them. And yeah, I'd say do that. Try to get ready for the enemy team to peek and just hide around corners and wait for that. Instead of, just standing in, the open air all the time, or even if you are in the open air, kind of just look towards the enemy to where they will go around the corner, and when they have to peek, where you can shoot them from. As well with that, if you are playing on defense yourself and the enemy team does happen to have a very good point, for whatever reason, they pushed up a little bit and now they can easily see your team, I'd say make sure not to peek yourself, don't walk around corners, and don't get picked off. I see this happen a lot of times. We'll have these defensive heroes, they're a little bit in the back, and they decide, I'm just going to go around this corner and try to completely change where I'm setting up, and then they get sniped by someone like a McCree. It can be a really big problem. Don't peek as much, be a little bit more patient, and really do focus on trying to kill the enemy team that's peeking, as that's what I feel like a lot of these characters do very, very well at. And that's all I'm going to say about this. Now, another thing just to really remember about this is that, personally, I kind of put these characters in, the other section instead of the purely defensive section. I don't really feel like these guys are purely defensive. I feel like they can do quite a bit more, and you can put them into other situations than just playing on defense or just playing on certain defensive-based maps. They can really do a lot. I'd kind of just put them in the other section. That's where I feel like they personally belong. Anyways, if you guys did enjoy the video, as always, make sure to hit that like button. Comment down below what you personally think or who you like to play as a defensive character and why. And as always, press the subscribe button. And the bell, because that's pretty much the actual new subscribe button, because the real subscribe feature doesn't really work. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, though. And as always, have a wonderful day.